This is the reason why we're all gonna fucking die. Everything these days has to keep you there forever. Apparently, dating apps are fucking failing. And I thought they were at like an all-time peak. It's crazy for me.
Bumble is actually down 92%. And Match Group, the company which owns basically every other dating app, is...
Also, I didn't know this. Guys, every dating app is owned by one company. Tinder, Match, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, and Hinge are all owned by one company. Think of what a fucking dating monopoly that is.
Every other dating app is doing pretty badly as well.
60% down in all time. Yeah, that's... I would have thought that every dating app and dating apps in general would be more popular now than ever. And they probably still have more users. Maybe they don't have more users now than ever. Because if the market share and the stock is dropping, that means trust in it and good expectation for the future is dropping, which they're probably reporting fewer users than they did before, right? Maybe they're losing users or activity of those users. But yeah, that's I would have thought that they are in the best state ever, even though I hate them.
People are falling out of love with dating apps, and this is affecting Gen Z in particular, who are becoming less likely to spend money on the apps. In fact,
yeah, guys, type 1 in chat if you've ever used a dating app, actually. Because I have a lot of experience with them. I've used Tinder when I was 18, then 19, then, probably 20 and probably 21, probably 22 and probably 23. And I think that was the last time I used it, if I remember.
Forbes Health ran a survey and found that 79% of Gen Z respondents had reported experiencing some form of dating. They've even seen that the companies have resorted to some interesting marketing techniques. For example, Bumble got in trouble for some ads that they ran trying to convince women to no longer be celibate.
Wait, thou shalt not give up on dating and become a nun. You know full well a vow of celibacy is not the answer. I assume these... I'm not gonna lie, these are such bad ads that I'm looking at them now, and I wouldn't even understand what the fuck it means. So I don't think these are even good advertisements to do anything. Because what the fuck? Why are you... I feel like if you bring this up to any graphic designer, first of all, using the word thou and shalt on an ad is a terrible idea. Also, a nun and it's just a terrible ad.
Yes. People weren't too happy with these adverts. Now, this is a far cry from the promise that dating apps made for us. When they first launched, it would be difficult to believe that around a decade later, they'd be launching $500 a month membership.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys remember that? We covered it so much, the $500 Tinder tier. Oh, my God. I don't know what I would say absolute degenerate you'd have to be to pay $500 for Tinder. But then again, it's for all of these super rich, like, software designers that don't leave their basement, right? I'm not going to say their mom's basement because they probably have a fuck ton of money because they're like a software designer or whatever. In America specifically. But at that point, aren't there apps for rich people instead?
Programs.
Rich people meet each other apps where you need to submit your fucking, yearly salary or something. I feel like buying a Tinder $500 premium thingy is not going to help you there. It kind of money suggests expectations. Yeah, probably. It's if I had to guess, it would be a lot of like sugar daddies looking for sugar babies. I don't know, though. As a girl, you don't know who you matched with, right? Maybe it's different for the $500 tier, but like you don't know if you matched with a person that paid $500. So a girl probably would not know that she just matched a potential like sugar daddy, unless there's some different algorithm for the way it works. That's actually a good thing for Tinder because the person is bad with money. But you don't, right? You don't, because there's no way of knowing who you just matched with, right?
If we try to understand how we ended up here, we maybe can come to some interesting conclusions, not just about these apps, but maybe about human relationships more broadly and the assumptions that we might make about each other. The first thing that's worth explaining is that the decline of these apps is in large part a signal of broader trends in technology. There's this idea of enshitification, the phenomenon of online platforms.
This is where every app goes to shit. The best example, Spotify.
Degrading the quality of their services over time, leading to an overall decline in user satisfaction and overall value. This is something that's really broad across technology. It is best characterized through Airbnb, starting initially as a promised land where you could rent out a spare room at the fraction of the cost of a hotel, but ending up in a situation where people are paying $200 cleaning fees.
Airbnb in Europe is still the better alternative, right? I can't even remember. No, I can't remember. I'm not sure about other countries, but Airbnb in Europe is still a lot of the times better than going to a hotel, I think. Depends really much, right? Saw an ad recently for a dating app that advertised itself as a platform to find a sugar daddy and the other way around for sugar daddies to find a date. That's the least surprising thing in the world.
Have curfews and service fees for a rental. The most egregious example of enshittification is BMW, who in 2022 launched a subscription to just unlock the heated seats, though.
Didn't this crash and burn? Imagine having a subscription for a car. And I was just thinking of this yesterday. Me and my brother and my family were sitting around the table because my brother came back from America. And my brother was telling me how in America, everything is based on everything is bought with credit, right? They're making monthly payments for everything rather than buying it up front. That's like a very common thing in America. And you basically don't own anything in a way. And it makes me realize, right? You buy a game on Steam, you don't really own the game. You own the access to play the game. Right? These days, nobody can afford to buy like an apartment or a house. You have to take a loan, a mortgage for it, right? You rent it out or you rent it. You don't own a house. The further we go, no one's going to own anything. Guys, think of it. Like, we might be the generation, some of you people in chat are probably never going to own a house in your life. Hopefully, that's not going to be the case, but some of you in chat are genuinely never going to own a house. You might rent for the rest of your life because we're moving to the point where like nobody owns anything in the world anymore. And we're basically we either buy it on credit or we lease it out or we rent it out, right? We're not even going to own a car anymore in like 10 years because we're going to have to pay a subscription for it.
Apps are not immune to this problem as fundamentally they are technology companies. The most obvious manifestation of this enshittification is the idea that subscriptions are king. I don't know if you know this, but Tinder actually has 3 separate subscription options on top of the $500 a month subscription.
I used to need to, when I had Tinder like a few years ago, I needed to get the Tinder Plus that you can get from other sites, not just Tinder, to get it cheaper because I didn't want to dox my life.
Man, these look more like insurance plans.
Still didn't get any matches.
Dating apps have not become immune from this subscription mania, and their monetization strategy has led to them feeling more like a gacha game. If you don't know what a gacha game is, it's a game that uses like a loot box mechanic where players buy in-game currency and use it to gamble effectively. In fact, Tinder actually rolled out its own in-app currency that you could use to buy special features
things
that would increase your chance of finding love. It's a very overt
shift
towards gamification, towards implementing game-like mechanics in a non-gaming environment. The literal CEO of the parent company of Tinder is a man named Bernard Kim, who was the former president of Zynga.
Guys, the CEO of the parent company of Tinder that owns all of the dating sites is the ex-CEO of Zynga. Think of that, guys. How many of you played Zynga games on Facebook like 10 years ago? Zynga would own half the fucking games you would play on Facebook. The Zynga poker game, do you guys remember that? I remember that. Is what Zynga? There's no way you've not heard of fucking Zynga, okay? You played some of their fucking games. Their games were the most scummiest, shittiest fucking things you could find on Facebook or I guess like any random site online like Zynga Poker. It was absolutely soul-crushing and like money hungry as fuck. Every game they would get on Facebook would turn to fucking shit. And guys, the CEO of the company that owns all the dating apps is the CEO of Zynga. That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense why dating apps are such a fucking terrible, trash thing when you think of that. All the dots are like connecting in my mind.
You don't know who Zynga are. They are the company that is responsible for all of the worst mobile games. You know, the ones...
I haven't even played any of these. Maybe you guys know these. I haven't even played any of these.
That look like this, right? And it's no surprise that these mechanics have been transferred directly from mobile games, which are some of the most addictive games in the world, to dating apps. This idea of gamification, broadly put, is simply just driving engagement and driving usership, not by providing a service, but by hijacking your brain's reward circuitry and making you addicted to the app rather than enjoying the app. As these apps have become increasingly gamified, people have responded much how they would respond to an actual game by trying to exploit the mechanics of the game. In the world of dating, this manifests...
The fucking super likes on Tinder were such... It was like your only chance to match a hot girl, but it still usually didn't work.
...as hinge hacks. So there's this whole world on TikTok, which I didn't know about, of people sharing techniques and tips that you can use to make your experience of using dating apps a little better. Some of these things include refreshing your Hinge feed by threatening to delete your account, which supposedly flags Hinge.
It makes you
way more likely to show up in other people's feed.
But I think
other people's decisions have been things like choosing to use AI wingmen to create a profile that...
Oh my God, wait. Holy shit, wait. I haven't used Tinder since ChatGPT came out. Would ChatGPT help you to rizz up every girl on Tinder? It's like you ask ChatGPT, give me a message that even a girl that would never respond to me would respond to. Holy shit, wait. I've genuinely... Has dating changed since ChatGPT came out? I'm wondering here. I feel like that would be an interesting social experiment. Someone actually has it. Let me try that prompt. I wonder what it would actually give you if the girls you're talking to are scam bots.
Is optimized for these algorithms. Enshirtification isn't necessarily a complete explanation, though, because despite the fact that many other services in technology have been getting worse and worse, the companies seem to still be doing great. And there are some unique dynamics of these apps that make them especially prone to collapse and that can help us understand the mass exodus. Part of it is simply the fact that these apps promote the idea that they'll literally change your life. Hinge, for example, markets itself as the dating app designed to be deleted, which is an extremely big promise.
That's one thing. Oh God, this is why I hate the modern world. Okay, this is literally the reason why humanity is killing itself. Okay, and this is the reason why we're all gonna fucking die. Everything these days has to keep you there forever. There is no way to make a product that benefits anyone because you need to make a product that makes people coming back. Makes them come back, right? Like, I can't make a good stream and then not ever see any of you guys in the chat ever again, right? I need to make a good stream that's going to make you come back every single day for the remainder of your life, you know? And you can't make a product that's useful because if it's useful, that the end goal would be to not need it anymore, right? That's why I think psychologists and therapists are still an amazing thing because they don't want to keep you there forever. A lot of people make them that meme, and maybe some people are scummy and whatever. But in therapy, the goal is still to like put a man on his or a woman on their feet and like send them off. Like, yo, goodbye, Timmy. Good luck in school today, or school being real life. Well, in apps and everything, it's like every system now is designed to forever keep you in the loop until everyone fucking dies. You know. Her name is I Need Help Setting a Serious Debate with My Friends, Pineapple and Pizza. Oh shit, that's a good one. So guys, one strategy I found that worked pretty well on Tinder, and keep in mind I didn't have a lot of success on Tinder. It's asking the girls a question. A not serious joking question, okay? Opening up with like hello, and then you give them like a funny question, a funny dilemma, right? Even if they're a little bit not on the bright side, they might engage with the hypothetical of like, pineapple and pizza or whatever. And that's the one thing that works really good. I don't think you should ever start a conversation on Tinder or any dating app and be like, hey, I feel like it's always good to give them something to like bite and engage on. A lot of them still don't.
It's a promise that I personally, as a cynic, feel like isn't necessarily true. Mm-hmm. Hinge is owned by a $9 billion company. So, I don't think they want you to delete any of their apps. I should mention that
they want you stuck
there
forever.
Consult a variety of sources. And sometimes that leads you, especially with dating, down some uncomfortable rabbit holes. And so I want to maybe address a few preconceptions that people can often have after having had a bad experience with dating apps. Mm-hmm. They're not an enjoyable experience for anyone, regardless of gender.
I found them quite enjoyable. at times. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I found dating apps to be quite enjoyable when they worked, and I found them to not be as enjoyable when it didn't. When they didn't. For me, I had never talked to a girl in my life before I downloaded Tinder, and Tinder gave me a lot of. This is Tinder back in like 2018. You know, it was a different time. But you know, I used to get some matches. Now I probably wouldn't get any. But it still gave me an opportunity to talk to girls. I remember, guys, I remember I got really, the first girl I ever talked to on Tinder, it was basically the first girl I ever talked to. She was so cool, and she like, we were talking and chatting, and then she ghosted me and never like wrote back to me. I was sad for like 4 days. I shit you not. I was straight up fucking depressed for like 4 days. Just because some random girl that I kept talking to just ghosted me and never replied ever again. It was like the first time I had ever talked to a girl in my life, and she ghosted me after 4 days.
Identity. Around 80% of women report feeling some level of burnout, and around 74% of males report feeling some kind of burnout as well. The unenjoyable experience is pretty evenly split across the aisle. We have some very different problems that occur, but no set of problems is one more significant than the other. Interestingly enough, men outnumber women 3 to 1 on Bumble and Tinder, and yet women report higher rates of negative experiences. That's not to invalidate.
Women report higher rates of negative experiences. That's gonna be all the guys sending all the dick pics, right? That's gonna be the women are gonna either get hit on in an uncomfortable way. The guys are gonna be sexual towards them. And while guys will not just report anything because they're just gonna get sad because no girl ever replies to them. I don't mean like the weird guys. I just like a normal guy that downloads it. He's not gonna get any matches, any likes, and he's just gonna he's just gonna become suicidal.
The fact that men obviously have incredibly high rates of negative experiences, but rather to emphasize the fact that nobody enjoys the experience of dating apps. The grass isn't greener on anyone's side. Men are far more likely to experience feelings of rejection, feelings of being ignored, whereas it seems like the issues that women report are more, well, they're different. They're different at least, right?
Yeah.
So a 2023 survey,
sexually explicit messages,
they found that over half of women under 50 who'd used dating apps had been sent a sexually explicit message that they didn't ask.
Oh, God, no. Do I want to ask this question? Oh, no. Since my chat is, again, majority women, do I want to ask this question? Okay, how do we formulate this question? Type 1 in the chat if you've ever received a dick pic in your life. Let's start simple, guys. Let's start a simple question to start the conversation. If you've ever received a dick pic in your life, type 1. And that's all of them. Okay, well, that's all of them other than May and Beatrice. Okay, yeah, that's even the guys. even the guys. Okay, well.
Which I think is an insanely high statistic. But generally, the issues that lead people to feel burnt out are more broadly the failure to find a good connection, being ghosted, being lied to.
Yeah, the definition of burnout is doing something without success for an extended period of time.
To feeling rejected and having boring or not substantive conversations.
There.
Now, let's maybe understand a bit more about the user experience and what kind of leads to these super high rates of dissatisfaction and whether dating apps are actually benefiting from this or not. Because it seems like they aren't benefiting from this huge level of dissatisfaction that people are experiencing. I want to explain a little term from economics called adverse selection. Planet Money wrote a little piece explaining how adverse selection might be an important factor in understanding why dating apps have gotten so bad lately. It's possible that dating apps face adverse selection. Basically, a new app starts up and hopeless romantics looking for real love begin flocking to it. But so do sleazy types who lie on their dating profile. Over time, the earnest daters go on a bunch of bad dates, encountering people who have no interest in real relationships or whose profiles are completely misleading. Like lemons driving good cars out of the used car market, maybe sleazeballs push great catches out of dating apps and ultimately ruin the quality of the.
So basically, girls, there's one guy that sends 100 dick pics a day, and that one guy ruins the experience for all the other guys because all the girls are just like, damn, this place sucks. That's, as I understand, that's what he wanted to say.
Whole app experience. So people go to a new app in the hopes of finding something better, and the cycle starts again. This idea
Shit.
of adverse
It's
selection.
when you go to a new streamer, you're like, this streamer is going to have content. Then you turn his stream on. He's looking at a video about Tinder when you've never had a girlfriend.
Basically the idea that people can take advantage of, the meta on dating app to promote themselves as something they're not, and ultimately lead honest, well-intentioned users to feel like the apps don't have any other.
Another question. Type 1 in chat, guys. Guys, type 1 in chat. If you've ever been catfished by a girl, by a guy, I don't care. Just, you maybe met up with someone. They weren't like, they weren't like their photos. They were a different age. They were okay. That's surprising. Fewer people. Still too many. Went on a date with a guy who said he was 5'7". I am 5'7". He was barely as tall as my shoulders. I think lying about your height is like, why? Right? If you lie, I guess you can lie slightly. If you're like 184, you can be like, well, I'm 185. But if you really skew it, like, they're gonna see it anyway, right? If you tell them your dick is 20 centimeters, but then they see it and they're like, well, shit, I need a lens to see this shit. Like, they're gonna find out, right? Like, if you lie, I mean, why?
Honest users, because they're only interacting with people who know how to game the app. This is this whole idea of, hinge hacks or using AI tools to beat the system. It doesn't necessarily make you a better person on a date, but it makes you more representative of what the market supposedly looks like to someone. We
clicked on a convo level. I didn't care much. It is crazy how many photo techniques girls have to take good photos. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I only found out about them fairly recently. Girls even told me if there is a photo where they're like, they're standing in front but they're crossing their legs, it's because it makes them look thinner. And like, so many, holy shit. Every girl has a PhD on how to take photos that make you look better and then use them to catfish people. Now, a lot of them don't do the catfishing part, but still, every girl has a fucking PhD in that.
Who's just downloaded the app.
I never show
and it makes people who download
Good.
the app feel like everyone is awful. There is a way to actually minimize these bad apples. This is something that's actually been done before. If you can give the users as much information as you can, they can make more informed decisions, right? That's intuitive. However, the more information you provide to those users, the harder it makes for the app to be gamified, because they can't rely on the fact that you don't know things about other people. This is most clearly shown in the fact that Hinge's premium program, Hinge Plus and Hinge X, they both allow you to actually add more information about yourself. They allow you to filter your dates by location.
Those are good. Those are good. I like it when they have more things to put information for, because honestly, when you think about Tinder, I have all my experience on Tinder. The information that Tinder lets you put into the app is the most useless information in the fucking world, right? I remember you could say that you like sushi or running or meditation. Like, those are cool, but those are probably like top 125th on like the hierarchy of what's useful.
Activity, and to fine tune exactly what you're looking for, which inevitably leads to a better dating experience and reduces this problem of adverse selection. And this isn't just theoretical. We can take the example of OkCupid, which has actually gone through a bit of a transformation from being a dating app that dealt with this problem of bad apples a lot better than the new school dating apps, into gradually becoming another Tinder clone. I found this comment of someone who described their experience, and I think it captures quite well what's going wrong with these apps.
What do you talk about with a random person with hardly any good hobbies? Well, that's a good question for me, because I'm a professional. I don't think I've ever dated a girl that I had any good hobbies or interests with. So you are asking the right person, May, okay? When it comes to picking the worst people for me, I am a professional. What do? You ask them questions, and you let them talk about their life, and you never talk about your life. That's what you do. That's the key, how to make a absolutely horrible relationship.
OkCupid used to be really great before they were sold off to Match. Match is the company that owns Tinder and Hinge and all of the other ones.
All these app shit.
It was a pretty simple concept that worked really well. Start people off by forcing them to answer at a minimum like 25 matching questions around things like politics, religion, handling money, hygiene, etc. core factors that people would consider when dating, essentially.
Okay.
But the kicker was that you also got to specify how you would like your potential match to respond to the same question. And you got to weight that response based on how much you cared about that particular question. After about 25 questions, you could always get a large enough sample size to match people, but it worked best at matching people that had answered over 100 questions each. It was like magic. Anyone with over an 80% match on that site always ended up being a surefire, amazing conversation. What this person is describing, without necessarily realizing, is this idea of adverse selection, right? The idea that just by having more and more information about who your potential matches are, in terms of their interests, their likes, their you can basically make dating apps be fantastic. However, the issue with that is that they can become a bit too good, right?
As well.
And you end up in the situation where every person you match with is actually a pretty good person, and you're therefore extremely likely to quit the app. The ideal situation for these apps is this weird middle ground where they want you to find someone you like, but not too often, and not someone that you like too much.
Because you don't want them to delete the app because you need them, and you need to get them to pay, okay? And that they can never have a successful relationship because you need them to be there, and society's gonna all fucking die.
Then you delete the app.
True.
But they don't want you to have 0 matches because that means that you'll delete the app super quickly. That's kind of the optimal model of a dating app. What's called a variable ratio reward, where you get a reward at an unpredictable interval, and you get a reward that's big enough every time to keep chasing the next one. Like
modern society
they're playing
fucking
this balancing game, and they're clearly not doing a very good job at
it.
When it comes down to it, ultimately, people want what they've always wanted, which is meaningful connection with others. And I think the real danger here is that people have been generalizing their experiences on dating apps as broader generalizations of how, quote unquote, society is today. And I think that's a big problem, because I would hope that most of us understand that, say, social media isn't necessarily a one-to-one representation of how people behave in real life. If you took Twitter...
Shit, guys, I am not at all like I am here in real life, okay? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm not at all, guys.
Close, for example, to the representation of how everyone behaves in general, you'd be scared to go outside. If you took Instagram Reel comments, you'd think everyone was incredibly racist all of the time. True. It's an algorithmic mirage. Yeah, exactly. It's an algorithmic mirage, right? These algorithms are so capable of building a mirage.
Then again, people that use Instagram are all racist, by the way, I guess. Any Instagram users, by the way, I guess?
That makes you think that what they are showing you is simply a direct representation of what reality is, when it's been filtered through layers and layers of algorithms and psychology in order to fundamentally change how you interact with it.
Society
the good thing that we can take home from this is that people are ultimately voting with their wallets, which is by far one of the most effective ways you can actually create change. There's a big trend, you might have seen it, of run clubs now. A lot of people are joining run clubs in order to find love. And this to me...
Run clubs? Are there running clubs? I've never heard of I guess there are hiking clubs. I don't know, it's so surprising to me that there could be run clubs. I've just never heard of a running club in my life. Then again, the run clubs would have very athletic people.
It's ultimately a good thing. It means that people are actually choosing to create their own alternatives, which is exactly what we need right now. There's many angles you can approach this from, but ultimately the biggest reason they're doing so badly is that they're not providing the service that they promised. The collapse of dating apps doesn't mean the collapse of romantic love. It means that it's actually going to spread a bit more towards the places where it needs to be, towards these organic spaces. But then again, I'm also incredibly single, so
me too.
Take my words with a grain of salt.
True. Fuck. Videos like this, I love videos like this because it makes me realize how fucked society is, okay? It's like when it's satisfying to hit yourself in the head. You're like, fuck, we're so fucked, and you keep like hitting yourself in the head.